What happens when a mortal woman dares to glimpse the true face of a god? In the shadowy realm of Greek mythology, where divine power meets human frailty, some wishes come with a price too terrible to imagine. Today we uncover one of mythology's most haunting tales of love, jealousy, and fatal curiosity. In ancient Greece, stories weren't just entertainment. They were profound explorations of human nature, divine power, and the consequences of crossing boundaries meant to remain uncrossed. These myths emerged from a civilization that understood the delicate balance between mortals and gods, where hubris could lead to destruction and divine favor could prove just as dangerous as divine wrath. Our story begins in the ancient city of Thebes, founded by the legendary Cadmus. This wasn't just any city. Thebes stood as one of Greece's most powerful centers, a place where mortals and immortals frequently intersected. Here lived a princess whose beauty would catch the attention of the king of the gods himself. Semele was no ordinary mortal. As daughter of King Cadmus and Queen Harmonia, she possessed a beauty that seemed almost divine itself. Her skin glowed like polished marble, her eyes sparkled with intelligence, and her grace moved like poetry in motion. But beauty, especially beauty that attracts divine attention, often becomes a curse in disguise. Zeus, the thunder-wielding ruler of Mount Olympus, was notorious for his wandering eye. Despite his marriage to Hera, the king of gods regularly descended to earth, drawn by mortal beauty. When his gaze fell upon Semele, he was instantly captivated. Here was a woman whose radiance seemed to rival that of the goddesses themselves. The god of gods couldn't simply appear in his true form. Divine power in its raw state was too overwhelming for mortal eyes to witness and survive. So Zeus did what he always did. He disguised himself, taking the form of a handsome mortal man. To Semele, he appeared as a mysterious stranger whose charm and magnetism were irresistible. Their romance blossomed quickly. Semele found herself falling deeply in love with this enigmatic man who seemed to possess an otherworldly quality. His touch sent electricity through her veins, his voice carried the rumble of distant thunder, and his presence filled her with a sense of power she'd never experienced. Yet she had no idea she was loving the most powerful being in existence. Zeus, for his part, found himself genuinely enchanted by Semele's mortal warmth and humanity. Unlike the eternal, sometimes cold perfection of the goddesses, Semele possessed a vibrant life force that fascinated him. Their secret meetings became the highlight of his existence, stolen moments where the burden of ruling the cosmos lifted from his shoulders. But secrets between gods and mortals rarely remain hidden for long. High on Mount Olympus, Hera's divine senses detected her husband's latest infidelity. The Queen of Gods possessed an uncanny ability to discover Zeus's affairs, and her jealousy burned with the intensity of 1,000 suns. This wasn't just about betrayal. Each of Zeus's mortal lovers represented a threat to her position and dignity. Hera's revenge, however, wouldn't be direct. The goddess of marriage was far too cunning for simple violence. Instead, she devised a plan that would use Semele's own love against her, transforming the mortal woman's greatest strength into her ultimate weakness. Disguising herself as an old nursemaid, Hera approached the unsuspecting Semele. The goddess appeared as a kindly old woman, full of wisdom and maternal concern. She listened patiently as Semele spoke of her mysterious lover, nodding knowingly at each detail. "My dear child," Hera said with false warmth, "how can you be certain this man truly loves you? Any man can claim devotion, but only a man who holds nothing back proves his genuine affection. If he truly loves you, he should be willing to appear before you exactly as he appears before others he claims to love." The seeds of doubt were planted with surgical precision. Hera continued her manipulation, suggesting that a man who refused to show his true self might be hiding something shameful. Perhaps he was already married. Perhaps he was deceiving her about his identity. The only way to know for certain was to demand complete honesty. Semele's mind began racing with possibilities. She realized she knew almost nothing concrete about her lover. He came and went mysteriously, never spoke of his family or background, and seemed to possess resources that suggested great wealth or power. The old woman's words struck directly at her deepest insecurities. When Zeus next appeared, Semele was ready with her request. But she was clever enough to know that a simple question might be deflected. Instead, she asked Zeus to swear by the river Styx that he would grant her one wish, whatever it might be. This wasn't just any oath. Among the gods, swearing by the Styx created an unbreakable bond that even Zeus himself could not violate. Zeus, blinded by love and completely unsuspecting of Hera's manipulation, readily agreed. He swore the sacred oath, binding himself absolutely to fulfill whatever Semele requested. The moment the words left his lips, he realized he had walked directly into a trap, but the nature of that trap remained unclear. Semele took a deep breath and made her fatal request. She asked Zeus to appear before her in his true form, exactly as he appeared when he visited Hera on Mount Olympus. She wanted to see him in all his divine glory, with all his power and majesty fully revealed. The color drained from Zeus's face as the implications hit him like a thunderbolt. He immediately understood what would happen if he fulfilled this wish, and he knew with absolute certainty who had planted this idea in Semele's mind. His wife's jealousy had created a situation where his oath would force him to destroy the woman he loved. Zeus begged Semele to reconsider. He explained that his true form was not meant for mortal eyes, that divine power in its raw state was too overwhelming for human beings to survive. He offered her anything else she could possibly desire: immortality, vast wealth, power over kingdoms, even a place among the stars. But Semele, convinced that his reluctance proved he was hiding something shameful, refused to release him from his oath. The god of gods found himself trapped by his own divine nature. An oath sworn by the river Styx could not be broken, not even by Zeus himself. The cosmic order that gave him his power also bound him to honor his word, regardless of the consequences. With a heart breaking under the weight of inevitable tragedy, Zeus began to transform. The change started slowly. The handsome mortal disguise began to shimmer and fade like morning mist. Semele watched in fascination as her lover's true nature gradually revealed itself. His skin began to glow with an inner light that grew brighter and brighter. His eyes blazed like stars, and the air around him crackled with barely contained energy. As Zeus's transformation continued, the very atmosphere began to change. The temperature in the room rose dramatically as divine fire coursed through his being. Lightning began to dance across his skin, and the sound of thunder rumbled from within his chest. The scent of ozone filled the air, and the ground beneath their feet trembled with divine power. Semele realized too late what she had asked for. This wasn't just her lover revealing his appearance. This was raw divinity unleashed, power beyond mortal comprehension made manifest. She tried to look away, but found herself unable to turn from the terrible beauty of Zeus in his true form. The final transformation was instantaneous and overwhelming. Zeus appeared in all his divine majesty, wreathed in lightning, crowned with storm clouds, his very presence radiating the power that ruled the cosmos. Thunder crashed from his voice, lightning blazed from his eyes, and divine fire surrounded him like a living cloak. Semele's mortal form simply could not withstand such overwhelming divine energy. The power that could reshape mountains and command the heavens was far too intense for human flesh and blood. She was consumed instantly, her mortal body reduced to ash by the very sight of divine truth. But Zeus's love for Semele transcended even death. As her mortal form was destroyed, he rescued their unborn child from her womb. This child, conceived from the union of God and mortal, would need protection to survive. Zeus sewed the infant into his own thigh, where divine power would nurture and protect the developing life. Months later, this child was born from Zeus's thigh, already possessing divine nature inherited from his father. This was Dionysus, who would become the god of wine, celebration, and the boundary between civilization and wildness. The child born from Semele's fatal wish would grow to embody the very themes his mother's story represented: the dangerous intersection of mortal and divine. Semele's tragic fate became one of mythology's most powerful warnings about the nature of divine power and mortal limitations. Her story illustrates how curiosity, even when driven by love, can lead to destruction when it crosses sacred boundaries. The myth explores the fundamental incompatibility between mortal and divine nature, showing how even gods cannot always protect those they love from the consequences of cosmic law. The tale also reveals the cruel sophistication of divine jealousy. Hera's revenge was perfectly calculated, using Semele's own love and insecurity as weapons against her. This wasn't random divine wrath, but psychological manipulation that turned the mortal woman's greatest strength into her fatal weakness. Modern audiences can see in Semele's story a timeless exploration of relationships built on incomplete knowledge. Her fatal wish represents the human desire to know everything about those we love, even when such knowledge might be dangerous. The myth suggests that some mysteries exist for good reason, and that trust sometimes requires accepting what cannot be fully understood. Semele's legacy extends far beyond her tragic end. As the mother of Dionysus, she became part of one of Greek mythology's most important divine lineages. Some versions of her story tell of Zeus eventually bringing her back from the underworld, granting her immortality and a place on Mount Olympus. In these accounts, love ultimately transcends even the boundaries of death.